minimum amount of calories needed to survive. The fact that there are diets out there where women claim to basically be eating these calories, or the fact that there are women even on these diets is frankly a bit concerning. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Alex. I'm a certified personal trainer and a nutrition coach helping young men and women navigate through the misinformation of modern day self-improvement. And in today's video, we'll be covering the topic of why you're not losing fat, even though you're trying. So I actually got this comment on one of my videos, Mike trying to lose weight, doing weightlifting, and basically just gaining weight in the process and getting stronger, which is always good. I actually found this video by Jeremy Ethier, who is the creator of Built with Science, and he's basically covering this exact topic, so I thought I might react to it and see if I have anything to add to it, which I probably do, because losing weight is a lot more complex than people think. It's not as easy as just calories in, calories out. At the end of the day, there are so many factors in play here, that not just physical in terms of calories, but actually psychological as well. So without further ado, let's get into it.
One of the most common reasons why people give up on their fat loss journey is simply because they aren't seeing any progress despite putting in the work and doing everything right. And I don't blame them. Believe me, if I didn't know any better and wasn't seeing the results I was after, then I would sure as hell quit too. But rather than giving up altogether, it's important that you instead take a step back to pinpoint exactly what it is you're doing that's preventing you from losing fat. And let me finish and know you're not too old to see results.
So yeah, first of all, genetically cursed. There are certain types of diseases like thyroid cancer alongside with just thyroid malfunction that could cause your weight to be a bit more hard to lose, especially in terms of fat. But in general, working with people across different areas of life, most people are not genetically cursed. You just lack certain, I wouldn't say willpower, but you lack some sort of techniques that can be used to make your weight loss easier. Things that actually could be very useful if you were to pay attention to them. Type 2 diabetes or just metabolic syndrome, it is a factor at slowing down your weight loss, or slowing down your fat loss specifically. But then again, type 2 diabetes is usually something that is also a lifestyle consequence. So if you manage to get yourself into the hole of basically having type 2 diabetes, then you can certainly come out of that hole with just putting a bit more work into it, basically.
Made in your calorie intake, meaning that you're unknowingly overeating, which prevents any fat loss from occurring. This is the mistake that 99.9% of people are making when they claim that they don't eat a lot of calories but still struggle to lose weight. Illustrating this is a paper from the British Journal of Nutrition, which looked at a group of women struggling to lose weight despite claiming to be small eaters, as they reported their daily calorie intake to be on average just 1,340 calories. However, after the researchers determined their true daily calorie intake, they found it to be on average over 2,500 calories, which was clearly the reason why they couldn't lose any fat.
So yeah, this is the legendary study that every single nutrition coach basically references when they first start talking about calorie intake and underestimating it. So this is mostly psychological because your body really just doesn't want to lose weight. Your body is very smart. It is built on the basis of homeostasis, which basically means it wants to be in the exact same position 24/7. So if you're currently eating like 2,500 calories and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna start losing weight, and then you don't track your calories, you don't track your macros, eating less presumably, then your body will be smart. It will just increase the portion sizes without even realizing that you're eating more, and eventually you'll still be eating the exact same amount that your body feels comfortable in. The good news about this is that your body actually has a dynamic homeostasis point, which means that if you're currently good with eating 2,500 calories of, let's just say, average food, you know, not too clean, not too dirty a day, then you can actually bring that down to about like 2,000 calories if you need to. Then your body will have a new reached homeostasis point, and this holds true for fat loss as well. So if you actually manage to get a six-pack, or you manage to get your dream body and you manage to maintain it for like 2 or 3 months, your body will recalibrate its 0 point. So it will be more easy for you to stay at that body weight than to go back to what you were before. So this is why fat loss is actually very doable long term, because if you're smart about it, then you will lose that fat and you will stay at the point where you feel most comfortable in. Now, of course, if you're doing the traditional bulking and cutting cycles where you lose weight and then you build muscle and lose weight and build muscle, it's a lot harder to actually stay at a very specific set point. You know, it's very easy for your body to lose all of its muscle and basically gain a lot of fat back. But at the same time, you know, it depends a lot on what your goals are. I would say the best option for you to actually make sure you're eating the amount of calories that you're eating is to track your calories. So I've already mentioned MyFitnessPal and Chronometer in this video here that I'll put somewhere in the corner. A lot of people just underestimate the amount of calories that they're eating, or overestimate the calories that they're eating. So if you're trying to gain weight instead, you might be thinking, you know, I'm eating like 5,000 calories a day, why am I not gaining weight? When in reality, on most days, you're probably getting like 2,000 to 3,000, whatever you were comfortable with before you decided to start gaining weight. So this holds true for both sides of the coin. It doesn't matter if you're trying to lose weight or gain weight, you will essentially be shooting yourself in the foot if you don't track your calories. Even I, who I've been, you know, doing this for a while, I still occasionally pop my diet into Chronometer, for an example, just to see what my vitamins sit at or what my calories sit at. I know that I cannot trust myself enough to actually eat the same type of food day in and day out and not subconsciously start adding, you know, like an extra tablespoon of peanut butter, or if I'm trying to gain weight, you know, like removing that extra tablespoon of peanut butter essentially. It does take time, but it is probably the biggest tool in your arsenal for maintaining and changing your body composition. Oh, and by the way, it is worth mentioning that when we're talking about weight loss, we're talking about fat loss, okay? So we're not looking to lose water and lean mass here, we're looking to lose fat. And when we're talking about weight gain, we're talking about muscle gain mainly. So I'm just used to using the words weight gain and weight loss because everybody's using them. In reality, we want to actually gain lean body mass and lose non-lean body mass.
And it wasn't until subjects were then supplied with the actual amount of calories that they claimed to be eating that they started finally losing weight at roughly 1.65 pounds per week.
Another thing here is that 1.3k calories is, of course it depends on your body weight and age, but for most women that is basically the basal metabolic rate, so that is the minimum amount of calories needed to survive. The fact that there are diets out there where women claim to basically be eating these calories, or the fact that they are women even on these diets is frankly a bit concerning, because not only are they eating the bare minimum needed to survive without even, you know, accounting for the calories they burn doing, you know, anything during the day, because the basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories you burn in basically a coma. You don't actually move around. These are the processes in your body, like your heart beating, your brain functioning, your breathing rhythm, the fact that you're metabolizing different substances in your body. This is all like essential for life. So if you're eating less than that, you're basically just doing yourself a big disservice. I mean, you're losing weight at a faster pace, obviously. At the same time, you are risking metabolic syndromes. Most women, when they want to lose weight, they want to lose weight fast, and this holds true for men as well. My suggestion would be to actually go for a moderate deficit, which is a lot easier to track if you actually know how to track your food. The difference between 100 calories and 500 calories is very hard to account for if you're not actually tracking your macros and weighing all of your food. But at the same time, you know, most people just go from eating like 2,500 calories a day to, like we see here, 1,300, which is a huge jump, and it is just unnecessary. You would do much better to go for a moderate deficit such as 300 to 400, and then when you see that your weight is stopping or your progress is slowing down, then you reduce your calories further. Your body is also smart with calories. It reduces the calories at some point. It will down-regulate all of its body's processes to basically account for the new amount of calories, and the weight loss will stop. But if you then kind of recalibrate, then you will be able to basically milk that weight loss for a longer period of time. And you might still end up on 1,300 calories, but you will be able to eat higher than that for much longer, and you will be able to also stretch out the weight loss to a longer period of time, therefore losing more weight, losing more fat, which is our goal at the end of the day. So keep that in mind.
And this phenomenon of underestimating calorie intake is something that multiple other studies have found as well. with one study showing that even experienced dietitians ended up underreporting their true calorie intake. So why exactly does this occur?
This is me. This is a experienced dietitian basically eyeballing the calories. I do this. I used to do this a lot more because I thought I was, so good at measuring my calories, and that ended up biting me in the ass. So even experienced dietitians, even personal trainers, even coaches, they should definitely do this, because it's practice what you preach at the end of the day. So I'm definitely guilty of this myself, but I've gotten better at balancing work and personal life and personal goals. So I can say with 100% conviction that I still track my calories. I plot them into Chronometer, like I mentioned, every now and then, and I track my weight every single week, which is what we'll be talking about later as well.
Well, the truth is that most people are really bad at estimating the actual amount of calories that they eat. For instance, how many calories would you guess is in this meal consisting of 2 pieces of whole grain toast with avocado and a little bit of olive oil drizzled on top?
So a whole avocado is like 200 calories, 200 to 300. I might be completely wrong with this. It depends on the size of the avocado, obviously. I'm gonna go with 300. The bread is like 75 calories a piece, so that's 450, and some olive oil, I'm assuming is like a tablespoon, that's like another 100, so I'm gonna say like 550. Let's just say 500. Let's just say 500 calories from this.
Chances are you wouldn't have guessed that this healthy meal consists of a whopping 620 calories.
So pretty spot on here, but I can definitely see why people might underestimate this, because it looks healthy, right? If it weren't for the shininess of the olive oil on top, I would probably have guessed less as well. This all comes with experience, kind of in a way. So again, if you're someone who is not looking to become the next top athlete, you don't really care for getting the best body in the world, you might not give a single crap about knowing how much this plate of 2 avocado sandwiches is actually in terms of calories. If you don't want to get good at eyeballing calories, then you might as well actually leave it to an app or some sort of food diary in a way. If you're not good at eyeballing and you don't care for being good at eyeballing, then don't eyeball,
Now let's take a look at these 2 seemingly similar bowls of dry oats. Would you honestly be able to eyeball and guess that the one on the right has almost 100 calories more than the one on the left just from adding a little bit more oats? Probably not. And this difference in perceived versus
I had no idea. I thought they were the exact same.
Actual calories very easily becomes the factor that's inhibiting your fat loss. So to mitigate this, you'll want to start monitoring your food intake and ideally taking the time to accurately measure everything with a food scale.
So yeah, a food scale is something that every single client that I work with, I tell them that this is the first investment. Like usually when I do coaching calls or consultation calls, I do like a free call, and then we kind of determine if we even are fit to work with each other. Before they even, pay me for any of my services, I basically tell them like, take the money that you have right now and buy a food scale. This is the first thing you need to do. And I basically give them like a few tips here and there about how to actually measure their food, and basically tell them like, weigh all of your food at first, do this for a full week, and write down everything that you eat. So I can basically use the calories that they consume, the weekly amount of calories that they eat, and I divide it by 7, so that's like a daily average. And then I can pretty much see where they're at. A food scale is something that you need to have. I am aware that some people use cups in terms of measuring. It's still better than nothing, but I wouldn't trust volume over the actual weight or the mass of the food. It's much easier to actually go wrong with that, because the density of certain foods is different. Like one brand of oats might have higher calories in it than another brand, so it's easier for you to just go by mass instead. There are actually food scales out there. I just ordered one for myself. It hasn't arrived yet, but it's sort of has like this calorie counter at the top. Obviously, if you're already tracking your calories with a chronometer or MyFitnessPal, then you might not need it that much. But if you're someone who doesn't really want to track their calories all that much, or you're, you know, old school and you just like to write things down, which is, by the way I started initially when I was like 12 or 13 years old, when I started fitness semi-seriously. This is how I tracked my calories and protein. I basically wrote everything down and I looked up on Google like what this amount of food, how many calories it has. Those were the days, but I'll put a few links in the description for the food scale that actually shows you calories. You just have like these list of food codes that you type in, and then it basically just, you put the food on the scale and it tells you exactly how many calories are in there, how much protein. You can easily just write it down into your notebook or just add it in as a single macronutrients into whatever app you're using to track your macros. Both MyFitnessPal and Chronometer basically have this feature where you look up the food followed by the word macro or quick add macronutrients based on that. So if you don't like just tracking foods, you can just add in all of the foods at the end of the day and basically just add in the separate macronutrients and you'll get about the same amount of calories. Chronometer is a bit better with that because the general rule of thumb is that a gram of protein and a gram of carbs contain 4 calories and a gram of fats contains 9 calories. In most cases, you know, the thermic effect of food and all of that combined, it can fluctuate plus and minus like up to 2 calories, you know, like a gram of carbs can have 2 calories and 6 calories at the same time, you know. So again, I'll put the links to those 2 apps in the description, both MyFitnessPal and Chronometer. I suggest Chronometer, but for a beginner, MyFitnessPal would be better. And for a complete beginner who doesn't even want anything to do with apps, just get yourself a notebook, get yourself the food scale that I put in the description as well, and basically start by doing that.
I'll leave a link in the description box down below to a very affordable one that I personally use myself. And you can then use an app like MyFitnessPal to then track the calories from these foods. I highly recommend you do this, or at least try it out, as it's going to help you see how many calories you're truly eating at, and it's also going to drastically improve your skill of estimating calories in foods.
Yeah, so like I already mentioned, you don't need to track your calories on every single day. Like, I used to do that and it got really time consuming, and nowadays I basically just track my food every week essentially, you know, like one day every single week. I type in the amount of food that I'm eating, and if I see, I'm eating 500 calories above what I should, okay, let me just reduce it, and then I track the next day as well to make sure, kind of just to double check that I got things right. And then I continue eating without tracking the actual food, because I'm eating mostly the same foods every single day. If you're someone who likes to cook a lot or go out, have takeout, you know, I'm not saying it's unhealthy. At the end of the day, we're put on this planet to actually enjoy life instead of, you know, constantly worry about our weight. Plus, it's a lot more sustainable if you don't think constantly about your body composition, if you actually make choices to live a healthier life instead of constantly worrying if you're eating 100 calories or 200 calories more than you should. But I still suggest that you plot it into either Chronometer or MyFitnessPal, or just use whatever technique you want to use, you're comfortable using, to just make sure and double check that you're eating the amount of calories that you actually think that you're eating.
In addition, you want to make sure that you don't forget about hidden calories. For example, let's say you require 2,000 calories to lose weight. You've monitored your food intake for the day and you're confident that you hit that goal. But upon further analysis, you've forgotten about the drop of oil that you used to cook your eggs and the ketchup that you ate them with, the drizzle of salad dressing added to your healthy salad, and the little bites you had of your significant other's chocolate bar.
Yeah, so hidden calories are the hidden killer, essentially. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen clients and also experienced myself snacking. The reason why snacking gets such a bad rap is because usually people don't actually account snacking into their macros. Now, since I am currently at my weight gain phase, then I tend to snack more than usual. But having meals is good because you actually know what you're getting into your body. But if you're having, you know, a chocolate bar here, you know, adding some sauce here, dressings very calorie rich. Like, I would opt for 0-calorie dressings. In that case, you just need to make sure that they don't have like carcinogenic sweeteners in there. Like aspartame got labeled as a section 2 carcinogenic compound. which basically means it's, you know, safe in small dosages, but if you eat too much, then it could have negative effects on your health. Splenda and sucralose are two sweeteners that I would generally avoid. Stevia is great, so if you can get a 0-calorie mayo or ketchup or barbecue sauce that has been sweetened with stevia, then I would go for that over anything, anytime. Obviously, it's more expensive. If you want to eat mayonnaise, then eat mayonnaise. Just make sure that it fits into your macros and that you're actually tracking the amount of mayonnaise that you eat. So if you're just drizzling it on top and basically thinking, oh, it's so little, it's barely going to give me anything, wrong. It's definitely going to give you a lot of calories. I've seen people basically go 600 to 700 calories above what they should be eating simply because they decided to track the amount of mayonnaise and track the amount of soda that they're drinking. They don't think about that sort of stuff, you know, nobody does. If it's something that you can quickly add to your food to make it taste slightly better and in a small amount, then you're just gonna think it's you know, nothing. But at the end of the day, if you keep doing that multiple times during the day, or you add in a bit more every single time, then you will quickly add up the calories very fast.
The next hidden mistake you're making is you're not properly weighing yourself. What most people do is they weigh themselves sporadically every week or so. And the problem with this is, well, let's use myself as an example. The following image is my daily weigh-in history for the last 4 weeks as I've been cutting. As you can see, my weight fluctuates quite a bit, which is completely normal, but the overall trend is downwards and my weekly average weight has decreased every week.
Weighing is it's a science on its own, you know. They could teach this shit in university pretty much. Jeremy's weight fluctuates seemingly 2 pounds daily. For reference, my weight currently at the weight gain stage fluctuates about 10 pounds on a daily. I know some people say that's a lot, but that is like generally the maximum. It's not the average. But you know, I've seen my weight go up and down in 24 hours by like 5 kilos, so that's like 10 pounds. Yeah, this is there are a lot of factors in play here. Usually it's the fact that you tend to weigh yourself not in the same condition that you weighed yourself last time, which is something that is also one of the primary things that I tell my clients not to do. You should pick a time, preferably in the morning, preferably after you've gone to toilet for number 1 and 2. If you can't do number 2, I would say have your coffee and then do the number 2. Don't eat anything. Weigh yourself after you've done the poo-poo, and make sure you do it on the same days every single week. I say that usually you shouldn't weigh yourself daily simply because it is something that can demotivate you in a lot of ways. You should usually pick days that generally don't have a lot of cheating, I guess, on your diet. So let's say you are the most strict on your diet on Wednesday, for an example, then you should pick Thursday morning as one of your weighing days. I tend to weigh myself on Mondays and Thursdays, same time every single week, and then I add those two numbers together. I divide them by 2 to get the weekly average. You should not be tracking your weight in a short time span and basically thinking that that is the overall trend. As we see Jeremy's weight loss here, it goes down when you basically do the weekly averages. So, you know, 7 days he basically got a data point for that week, and on 14 days he got another data point and basically does this, and the weekly average is basically going down, whereas his daily weight loss is fluctuating all over the place. You can even go a step beyond that if your weight loss is very long term and you want it to stick with you, which is what I suggest doing. If you want the weight to actually stay off, I suggest you do it over a longer period of time, losing no more than 0.5% of your body weight every single week. So for a 200-pound person, it might be a pound a week. If you decide to go that way, I would say that you could even measure the monthly averages, you know. So if you see that you were 200 pounds, the next month you were like 195, and then you were 192, and then you jumped to 195 again, you know, in that case, it could very well be that something somewhere went wrong and that you should reduce your calories a bit more. But when we're talking about daily, then there are so many factors in play here, you know, like you could have easily had a single candy bar during the day and that was enough to pull more water into your muscles, therefore shoot your weight up even though you didn't gain any fat, you know. Sometimes people jokingly say that they have a candy bar and they gain like 2 pounds of fat. Physiologically, definitely not possible for you to gain that much weight from just eating like a 200 calorie chocolate bar which is mostly carbohydrates, which are very hydrophilic. They bring water into your muscles. Fat gain and muscle gain, both losing them and gaining them, comes from a longer period of time. So make sure you use averages, make sure you weigh yourself. If you do decide to weigh yourself daily, that you at least add those numbers together and divide them by 7 to get your weekly average instead of daily weight loss and weight gain. If you go up by 5 pounds in 24 hours, then that doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It simply means that your body is holding more water for some reason. You might even look worse, or you might actually look better. If you're gaining muscle, then you might look a bit more full. Please don't look at your daily weight. Look at the averages and you will be much more happy.
So what you need to do instead is weigh yourself every single morning right when you wake up, after you've used the washroom, but before you eat or drink anything, as this is going
So yeah, exactly what I said basically.
to help minimize any weight fluctuations. You'll then want to write down this number every day and take a weekly average of it. And then every week you want to compare.
By the way, there's I've actually built a sort of like a tracking sheet for weight gain, basically for myself and for some of my clients that want to track the weight gain. I currently don't have the weight loss version of that, but I can easily create that. If you're interested in tracking your weight and sort of like making sure that it fits between the 0.5% and 0.25% of your body weight, which by the way are the general guidelines for weight gain and weight loss for long term, then let me know in the comments and I might just throw it out for free, because I think it's a useful tool for people to have, and if I already created it, I might as well share it with people.
The next hidden mistake you're making is overestimating and eating back the calories you burn. A lot of people find that after doing an intense workout, they're hungrier and feel as though they should eat more to compensate for the calories that they burned.
So yeah, this is something that for weight gain is very justified, because you're gonna feel hungry after a tough workout, and this is also the case for weight loss or fat loss. You will feel hungrier after your workout because of the depleted glycogen stores. Your body will just crave carbohydrates essentially, which is very normal, and it is very okay. In fact, I suggest that you have carbohydrates after your workout simply to replenish those glycogen stores faster and therefore keep your insulin sensitivity high. The problem that I have is that most people actually track their daily workout calories burned. This leads to a point where people will essentially have a tough workout and they will not only overestimate the amount of calories that they burn because their Apple Watch is telling them, oh, you burned 1,000 calories, which by the way, nobody's gonna burn unless you are a top level athlete training like very, very intensely. You're not gonna burn 1,000 calories in a session. At most, you're probably gonna get like 300 to 500 calories burned. Eating, more calories on days where you work out and less calories on days where you don't. If you can keep it up, then sure, go for it. But in general, I suggest people don't even have Apple Watches or anything that gives them a sense of how many calories they're burning. The only purpose should be to tell the time and maybe keep an eye on your pulse if you're doing like cardio, for an example, or if you have an underlying heart condition and you need to keep your pulse within a range of some sort. At the end of the day, just like tracking your weight, you should also use your calories sort of in an average way. Eat the same amount of calories every single day, and don't link your smartwatch with MyFitnessPal. It is the worst thing you can do. Honestly, I've seen people do that. I've done that myself, and then I've used that as an excuse to basically overeat or eat more calories, despite the fact that the watch is basically vastly overestimating the amount of calories I really burned. And in addition, I'm basically just allowing myself to eat more when I work out harder, which is, for fat loss, it is a slippery slope, let's just say that.
Research indicates that people tend to overestimate the calories they burned in a workout by up to 70%. And devices or machines that track the calories that you've burned in your workout have been shown to overestimate the actual calories that you burned by up to 24%. So if you're using either of those methods to track your calories burned and then you're eating back your calories based on that, that's likely what's hindering your fat loss. A much better method is to stick to a set daily calorie intake and a set weekly workout routine. Then you simply keep track of your weekly average weight, and if you're not losing weight, then you adjust your plan accordingly by either slightly decreasing your calorie intake and or bumping up your weekly cardio as needed.
So yeah, exactly what I said basically. I'm not a huge fan of bumping up the cardio, not for myself, nor for my clients, because that is also extra time taken out of your day. But if you're really someone who is struggling to eat a certain amount of calories and you really don't want to bring it down even more, you're finding that it has a significant psychological effect on you and it's making things harder, then sure, you can sacrifice a couple extra minutes of cardio to actually achieve a bigger caloric deficit. It is a strategy that some people use. I typically don't suggest doing that, especially because it is very inaccurate. Again, like you cannot put a number on it. You cannot track the amount of calories you burn during a cardio session accurately. If it's something that you want to do, then sure, go for it. It might work for you. Just because something works for me or it doesn't work for me doesn't mean that it will be the same for you.
But this isn't always the case, because if you're relatively new to training, or you're coming back from some time off, or you've just started taking your training and your nutrition much more seriously, then you're more likely to experience something called a body recomposition. This is where your body both builds muscle and loses fat at the same time, which is a good thing. But it will result in your weight actually remaining the same, which can throw people off. And this right here is exactly why it's so vital that you measure your progress in other ways rather than just relying on the scale. So in addition to tracking your weight, it's also a good idea to keep track of your strength in the gym, take weekly progress pictures, and take weekly bodily measurements. Because if, for example, in the past 6 weeks, your weight has stayed the same, but your strength has increased, your arm measurements have increased, and your waist measurements have decreased, then these are all signs that you're going through a body recomposition.
Yeah, so body recomposition is something that not a lot of people will be able to achieve. This is usually for individuals that have never trained in their life before, individuals that are severely obese, and individuals that have just had a massive training break or an injury for that matter. So it's muscle memory basically coming into play here. This is likely what Mike was experiencing that inspired this video to begin with. They gained like 7 pounds, which is not a whole lot of weight actually, but they basically got stronger. So there's a chance that they basically just ended up losing a bit of fat in the process, although again, I would not bet on that. In order to cause recomposition, you need to be in a very, very slight caloric surplus. This is also known as main gaining. This is what Coach Greg basically is preaching all the time. I would say use the mirror as a general guide. If you see yourself getting leaner, but your weight is staying the same, then you are likely going through recomposition. Alternatives are getting a skin caliper, which is basically how you measure your body fat percentage. And if you see your body fat percentage go down, but your weight stays the same, then you're likely building muscle at the same time. Again, this is something that you should be doing systematically at the same times during the day, the same weekdays, and making sure that you take the average of the progress instead of the actual like fluctuations.
All in all, I'll admit fat loss can be confusing at times, and nothing is more demotivating than not seeing the results that you're after despite actually putting in the work. But if you take a step back, review the various points I went through in this video, and properly apply them, then you will see the change that you're after. Guys, as I try to emphasize,
so yeah, this was Jeremy Ethier's video on why you're not losing fat. A lot of the things that he said were absolutely true. In fact, he probably didn't say anything wrong here. There's not a critique. This is more of a second look at basically what he talked about. And if you are in this position where you are basically trying to lose fat but your weight isn't moving and you're getting stronger, likely you are going through recomposition, or you're just underestimating the amount of calories that you're really eating. You can fix this by tracking your calories, getting a food scale, measuring your progress over a larger window of time instead of just tracking the daily fluctuations. Making sure that you do it systematically, and at the end of the day, if you are not a top athlete or looking to become one, then there is really no point to making this your entire life's purpose. I mean, health is very important, but at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying your life, then what is the point anyways, right? So you should be able to actually fit in a healthy lifestyle into your current one without sacrificing too much of the general joys of life that you want to experience. So, you know, you shouldn't be eliminating food groups, you shouldn't be eliminating your favorite foods, you should just eat less of them, or figure out a way to actually achieve the body that you want while still maintaining relatively the same lifestyle in a way. So this is what coaches do as well. This is why we actually have personalized coaching and personalized workout plans, because every individual is different. Every individual is willing to put in a different amount of work and different amount of effort and money and time to their body composition and changing their health in general. So just because you are not willing to give up Ben & Jerry's doesn't mean that you will experience less progress than the individual who's willing to go all in, you know. Figure out what works for you. Use all of the tools that are available to you, whether it's a food scale, a macro tracking app, whether it is a system for tracking your weight. And like I already mentioned, I do have this sheet available. I'll have to do some changes to it to actually account for weight loss as well. But if you're interested, let me know in the comments. I might release it on in the next video, or put it in the description if there are enough people interested. So I hope this video was of help. If you found it useful, make sure to share it with someone who might find it helpful as well. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Fly high.